the beaten track to find solutions.
The unforgiving African sun shone down early on proceedings at the start of the first day's racing proper in the 27th edition of the Toyota Kalahari Botswana 1000 Desert Race. Ahead, there was 480 tough kilometers of uncompromising racing through dense bush and the dry sub-Saharan desert with clouds of dust which never really settles down. Navigators were hard at work getting the race notes down, sorted and systemized in their own methods to ensure the quickest passage possible in the clearest communication with their drivers. In the prologue, there were one or two big surprises.
It came such a big surprise to me as it came to you. So, well, we started yesterday with a mission. We thought we just want to have a good prologue to see how far up front we can start, and it worked very well for us. We're starting first. It's the first time for me, so it's first time for my dad also. So he's got a hard job for today, but hopefully it will work for us, and we'll just try to keep our position. There's a couple of quick sand markers that when I'm going to pass, they can pass, but we'll try to stay in front of the production.
For Variawa and Rousseau in second place, it was a no-frills prologue, despite some loose sand.
We had a clean run and no problems. Very nice terrain, very sandy, very thick sand, but we had a nice run, yeah, no problems.
And the battle plan for today?
Well, we're starting in front of the specials, second overall this morning, and we're just going to keep it clean and run our own pace today.
For the old war horses, there was just one strategy: keep it together.
Starting 24th, Mick got into it very quickly. I mean, it's the first time he's ever navigated, but we had some fun yesterday, and I'm pleased there's a bit of wind this morning, so hopefully the dust won't be too bad.
What's the battle plan for today?
No, just to get back here, the car on one good sound pace. Obviously, some pace, and keep the car together, and tomorrow go for it again.
The father and son combination, Jan and Hendrik Kraai in the Regent Racing Bat, were just trying to keep things cool.
We're leading Class B. That's the 2000cc engine cars. We're leading the championship, and we won the time trial, so we want to just keep it cool and see if we can keep it there for the day.
And so far, 3 races, 3 victories. That's a great record in 07.
Yeah, we're holding thumbs, eh? We hope we are blessed again that we can do another one.
And with that, it was off. The De Bruins were all first courtesy of their win in the prologue, but they only had 7 seconds grace before Variawa and Rousseau hit the road behind them. And Grobler and Jordan were 2 seconds in arrears, with Berthold and Castaingers 4 further adrift. It was a dust bowl at the start as the first cars were set off in quick succession and the racing got underway. Up front, it was the McLaren XL dealer Toyota Hilux of the father and son Hichu and Jaap de Bruin who pulled away ever so slightly, with Variawa and Rousseau still eating their dust. Visibility wasn't great, but no one told Hannes Grobler that. The 3-time champ was on his customary charge early on, with Jordan in good voice.
Starten, ja. We maken. Dat is zo. Zesdag rijden hier zo. We moeten 60 rijden hier zo. En we vangen hier wat. Maar ja, dat is toch echt wat.
It seems the traffic cops are everywhere. Gary Berthold and Henry Costain were also placed well enough not to have too much dust, but would have liked even less. While Colin Matthews and Alan Smith had picked up the pace considerably, and the surprise package of the prologue picked up where they'd left off the day before. The Harpers were steady as she goes and were clearly trying to save the Atlas Copco early on. And the Motorride crew wanted Alfie Cox and his co-Henny Terstegen to let it all hang out. But after the top 10 had come through, the dust was badly churned up. In fact, the worst of the season, and it affected pace. Grenier and Birken going smoothly. In fact, some spectators were taking chances with their proximity to the route. Schroeder and Huxtable almost missing the right-hander. while Mosaji and Barhanya's miss was almost complete. Chris Visser and Japie Badenhorst in their Castle Theatre were still inside the top 15 and going very well early on. But the Botswana racing faithful loved it. As for Bevan Bertelt and Robin Houghton, they favoured the casual approach early on day one. Duncan Foss and stand-in co Richard Leek streaking by, looking for a second win in a row after Foss's triumph at Sun City 5 weeks ago. The De Bruins were putting together a very solid run and were keeping the Wolves at bay, at least for the moment. But surprise, surprise, the man who's won twice already this season, Hannes Krobler, was back in the frame quickly. He and Jordan had moved past Variawa and Rousseau into second. And more cream rose to the top. Make that flew to the top when Cox and Tersteger came from 8th to 3rd, quickly. Cronje and Birken's slowly approach also started paying off. And yet another Toyota team, this time Chris Visser and Japie Badenhorst at his side, made themselves comfortable in the top 5. Harpers had slipped down the order somewhat, but Nick is a cagey racer and was trying to save the car for the long haul on day 2. Foss and Leek seemed to have found each other and were putting all those years of experience to very good use. But large parts of the route were difficult to pass on and tempers boiled and flared at times. Mark Corbett telling Kobus van Tonde exactly what he thinks of him.
Move over here.
Very subtle. Karl Heinz and son Quinton Silwald were having the drive of their lives, and from 15th overall, they were already up into the top 10. Tollefson and Quinn were doing something similar and were going steadily and making their way up the standings. With Brandon Harkis and his co-driver Jean Moore in their Ford Ranger also up from 17th, but battling in the dust. However, the biggest surge had come from Colin Matthews and Alan Smith, who'd gone past Variawa and taken the lead. But the Total Motorsport team was still going well despite a puncture, which cost them some time. However, the drive of the first part of day 1 went to Herman Silwald and Paul Helberg, who was superb over the rough stuff. Berthold and Costain were next, literally flying along. With 2005 national champion Terence Marsh and Peter Groenewald in the Regent Racing pack also driving a controlled yet quick first half. Bevan Berthold and Robin Houghton were next to appear in their Castrol Toyota, and the man with a new fitness regime was keeping it together nicely. He called day 1 a hardcore route. After Hutchison and Bergman's 5-minute time loss in the prologue, the 05 champ threw caution to the wind and let her rip. Gary Gillingham and Peter van Vieren in their Kopenhagen Hotel Super Team bat started off in 20th, but were also patiently biding their time. But the cries were going like the proverbial Boeing, and it seemed everything they touched in 2007 turned to gold for their new sponsor, Regent Racing. Clint Gibson and Mike Brown in their absolute bat were 23rd off the line in the morning, but halfway through day one, they quietly slipped into the top 20. But further back, the dust made it difficult for the no-windscreen space frame cars, such as Nardis Alberts and Colin Hunter in their Rapsa bat. Schilling and Oosthuizen in the Plastotech Ace-Car were doing what they set out to do and going smoothly. While Van Tonder and Guapo were giving it horns in the 4th Ford Ranger on the flats. Typical Botswana midday winter heat was also starting to play a role, and drivers and navigators had to keep an eye on all the gauges on the dashboard to ensure a safe passage through day one. The Weifeld's Toyota Hilux bears a reference to an awesome god, and in the Toyota Kalahari Botswana 1000 Desert Race, there are a lot of prayers that make their way up. The third Regent Racing Special, that of Michael Whitehouse and Dean Langton, was 14th in class at the start of the day, but was also solid in the dust of the desert. And for Roacon, the David and Gary White sibling combination was proving to be a good one. In Class D, another family connection, the Duplessis, Yuri and Andre were piloting their BB Auto Nissan into the top 30 with a very controlled drive. But they could not let off for a second, or they would have Bez Besaidnout and Johan de Bruyn's Adenko Bats dust in their faces. Walter Duplessis was still the first single driver out there in his Sandmaster, while the Barkhuisens were keeping the communication lines open in their Rubicon Toyota. Yet another set of brothers, Henry and Maurice Matten, joined the Nissan stable this year under the Ryobi banner, but mechanically things have not quite gone for them. They started off in 58th place. Someone else who wasn't having it all his own way was Neil Woolridge, who was still battling with that starter motor and the odd wrong slot. Class D second places Malcolm Cock and Wayne Brink had their Castrol Toyota ticking along nicely and were in the hunt. And talking hunting, the Raysonic squad with Kutsia Labuskaghni at the wheel and his trusty nav Johan Gerber back next to him were hunting for more points after a good showing at Sun City. More off-road right after this.
Vehicle and asset finance from ABSA. Overcoming all from ABSA. Going the extra mile to get you financed.
At the designated service point of the 2007 Toyota Kalahari Botswana 1000 Desert Race, after 240 odd Ks at Lensway Letau, the first car to make its appearance was the Toyota of the de Bruyn's. Kroblan Jordan was second, a few minutes adrift, with the ever-present Nissan Motorsport manager Glenn Hall there to check on their progress. Hichu was pleased, but looked like the long haul had already taken its toll.
We're enjoying ourselves. Unfortunately, we've lost first and second gear, so we're only driving in third. So I think we're going to battle from now on to the finish, especially with the sandy one. So, but we're there. But it's luck. I'm enjoying
Bit dusty, but we managed to get past Shamir, and we're chasing as hard as we can to get as close to Hichu as possible. But it's a long day. We want to finish in a good position to attack tomorrow, so we're just keeping it together.
Cronje and Birkin were next to put in an appearance, but their Toyota Hilux looked like it had gone a few rounds with Bigfoot. And then an over-eager cameraman, whose lens obviously makes objects seem much smaller than what they really are, almost became a sticker on Duncan Foss's Nissan Navara. And while Grobra's thirsty charge was getting rehydrated, Vos wanted some setting done on the safety belt.
Bring it down further. I want this to end here. Okay. And tighten it so that it doesn't move.
The Century Property Development Nissan with Mark Corbett and Rudy Balzer aboard were next, while Vos was getting rid of all the dust.
Not too bad. We buddy, come here. Hold this up here. Hold this. And pour a little bit. We battling it. No, okay. Battling a little bit with dust, but car's good. Very good. We can make a couple of changes to improve it, but no, everything's not too bad at the moment.
Corbett, meanwhile, who had that little tete-a-tete earlier with Cobus van Tonda, had some fine-tuning done to the body of his car. And the pit crew were also ready to lend a helping hand.
It's going well. We started 26th off in the day, and I think we managed to pass about 15 people. So I think we're lying about 7th or 8th overall.
A couple of little side spots, I think.
Yeah, the bush tends to catch you out when you're trying to trace the people in the dust. We were trying to catch the Ford, and unfortunately we just ran out of talent and clipped a tree.
10 out of 10 for honesty. As for the hosts, Toyota, they hoped Mark Grenier was still firmly in it.
Alright, so far so good. We're just trying to keep it out of the trees. You know, the dust is quite thick, so it's been a tricky day.
And it left little time for talk too. In the Ford camp, Neil Woolridge was still battling that irksome starter motor, or something.
Neil, how's it going out there?
I think we've got either a battery problem or a starter motor problem, because we made up so much time. Duncan and ourselves were sitting right on each other's tails, and about 20 kilometers from the DSP, we stalled it going into a corner in the very sandy thing, and that was it, just dead. It wouldn't start. So we had to wait for someone eventually to pull us out and get us going again. So we need to just see what's wrong.
That's off-road racing for you. Manfred Schroeder knows what it feels like.
We had quite a long morning. Had a puncture, and then we lost drive to the one front wheel for the last 60 k's. Then we had some short in the back, and the wirings caught the light, so I had to stop again. No, we're just here changing the front drive shaft now, and hopefully can carry on.
One Bevan Bertolt was not exactly looking pleased with life, probably due to the CV boot which broke just before the DSP. After the compulsory 15-minute stopover, it was bombs away and home Jerome. The De Bruins again put pedal to the metal. The Barkhuizens were doing running repairs in the Rurikon pits, but for them, it had been a solid opening leg on day one, and they were pleased with their progress.
It's going well.